He uncharacteristically praised Chi Sang's improved abilities. As she was about to leave, the head of the prosecution received a call ordering the immediate arrest of the chairperson for assaulting her subordinate with confirmed injuries. She was immediately handcuffed. Cyan called Chi Sang to the rooftop to talk, asking how he knew the company's confidential information. She thought he had bought it from someone. He yelled at her and said he would make her pay for her actions. Hearing her husband's words, Cyan felt he was amazing and cool. The scene then shifted to everyone continuing to investigate data related to CEO Dong Chu's disappearance. Chae Sang said that since she worked in the chairman's office, she would have 2 phones, a personal one and a work phone. He also discovered that the 2 phones were not in the same location. They were in the same place during the day, but in different locations at night. Everyone then guessed that the person having an affair with the chairman was not CEO Dong Chu but someone else. As he was thinking, Chae Sang saw the bear on his keychain and said he knew who the person was. Afterwards, Chae Sang called the head of the office who often went with the chairperson to talk. He directly stated that she was the one having an affair with the chairman. She kept denying it, so Chae Sang analyzed his findings for her, saying that she used CEO Dong Chu's work phone, which led to the chairperson's misunderstanding and her current situation. Her push to change from a casual, carefree one to a fearful, upright position. She continued to deny it, but in a stammering tone. Chae Sang said that if she didn't help them find leads, he would expose everything and let the chairperson know that she was the real mistress. She then called the people who kidnapped Dong Chu. The police located their phone and immediately set out to find them. Cyan and Chae Sang were walking when she suddenly thought, "Why is CEO Dong Chu still alive? The chairperson wants to leave the country. They must be planning to flee together and then deal with CEO Dong Chu. They wouldn't dare do anything reckless because this case is being investigated publicly nationwide." Cyan and then changed direction, heading towards the docks. There, they discovered the kidnappers and CEO Dong Chu preparing to board a ship. Chae Sang was trying to get his phone to call for backup when Cyan shouted, "I'm a police officer," and charged forward like a warrior, demanding the hostages. Chae Sang also ran out. Seeing their nonsense, the kidnappers charged at them, ready to deal with them. Cyan fought like crazy, telling Chae Sang to run. 2 of the kidnappers chased Chae Sang into a wooden crate area, but he managed to subdue them. As he was running back, Chae Sang suddenly saw a high-heeled shoe. Following the trail, he saw 2 of the kidnappers aiming guns at CEO Dong Chu. He pushed a pile of things onto them and pulled CEO Dong Chu to safety. The kidnapper chased off to them, pointing a gun at Chae Sang and threatening to kill him. Just then, the backup team arrived with Cyan and shot the kidnapper. Seeing the blood, Chae Sang fainted. CEO Dong Chu was rescued from their clutches. After waking up, Chae Sang went to CEO Dong Chu's hospital room and saw her and her father happy and joyful. He remembered the scene of her death in the other world and the words Cyan used to reproach him, feeling incredibly guilty and bursting into tears. As he walked out, he remembered that Cyan had gone to look for her. She jumped onto him and kissed him, making him jump and throw her off. She was ecstatic about solving a major case with her husband. Back home, he went to sleep and woke up to his child farting in his face, which startled him awake. He realized he was still in this world and yelled in shock. He couldn't accept this reality. His strange behavior caused both Cyan and her daughter to panic. Suddenly, his body stiffened and he fell onto the bed. His eyes seemed to shatter into pieces of memories, and images of him dying on a hospital bed appeared. In the blink of an eye, Chae Sang returned to normal. He rushed to the bathroom to wash his face and discovered a large scar on his hand. While eating, Cyan said she would visit his subordinate, but he didn't remember who it was. She told him that the chairperson had tried to kill him by running him over with a car, but instead injured his subordinate. When they'd reached the hospital, the doctor said the subordinate could wake up in a week. Chae Sang became increasingly confused and asked for details about the accident. He went to the records room and found that all the dates and events matched. He thought that he was in a coma in the real world and had fallen into this world. Everything was different from the real world. He could only go back when he woke up in the real world, possibly within a week, as the doctor had said about his subordinate. He was sitting there lost in thought when his subordinate walked in, having been there all alone. He jumped in surprise. The subordinate gave him a stack of case files that needed to be addressed, all within a week. So Chae Sang began working on them. There was the case of the elderly woman who pretended to be deaf and kidnapped her husband, then the couple who fought in the interrogation room, pulling the prosecutor's hair, and the brother who tried to escape punishment by pretending to have a seizure by putting soap in his mouth. Chae-sang was at a loss for words with these cases. Sion and his colleague were talking in the hospital when they met a man who looked like he had no good intentions and started to mock them. Sion then said that he was about to run for mayor. She sarcastically said she hoped to see him at the police station, whether for campaigning or investigation, he should give it a try. It turned out that he was Seokjin, the chairman of a financial corporation. The news was also reporting on his charitable work and announcing his candidacy. Sion watched him, her face appearing dangerous. While feeding an elderly man, he was sprayed with porridge. In front of the cameras, Seokjin pretended to be concerned, but behind the scenes, he beat the elderly man up. Chae-sang went to the site of his accident, thinking that if he died there, he might be able to go back. He tried to run into the path of a car, but jogged back when it came racing towards him. He blamed the car for almost killing him. Afterwards, he and everyone else were called to a meeting at the prosecutor's office to discuss a missing person case. The victim was No Dun-mei, who had left home the previous day and hadn't returned. They were tasked with finding her within 24 hours. They all went to the girl's house and met her visually impaired father and her friend. While asking them questions, they noticed that the friend was answering for Dun-mei, which seemed strange to Chae-sang, so he wanted to go inside. The friend followed them inside, looking uneasy. After everyone left, Chae-sang decided to meet Dun-mei's friend to get her statement. He'd asked her if she worked at a nightclub, and she described all the arduous jobs that Dun-mei had done. She said that Dun-mei wouldn't accept that kind of work, no matter what. Then, out of the blue, a group of debt collectors came to her house and demanded that she repay a debt she had already paid off. They'd followed her to her workplace to cause trouble, and Dun-mei was often fired as a result. Others investigated information about Dun-mei and found that each place told a different story, leaving them confused. They all called Dun-mei's father to persuade him to have eye surgery, but he insisted on waiting for his daughter. Chae-sang then bluntly stated that Dun-mei had run away from home because of the large debt, leaving her father behind. He couldn't accept that his daughter had abandoned him, so he pretended to be scared and made up a story about his daughter being missing to get the police involved. This hit a nerve, and he denied it, sputtering and acting. Chae-sang said they weren't detectives. They were there to help him find his daughter. Sion went to comfort Dun-mei's father, calming him down. Chae-sang received news that his subordinate in the hospital was recovering well and might wake up within the next 3 days. He was overjoyed, thinking that when his subordinate woke up, he would also wake up in the other world and return. While he was happy, Sion came in and scolded him for forgetting to pick up their child. When they got there, the child was crying his eyes out, complaining about his miserable life and the boring life they lived. Back at home, he crossed his arms and arrogantly said he wouldn't talk to Chae-sang anymore. However, when he heard his mother say that his father would read him 10 books in a week, he started playing with his father again. The next day, Sion received a report that a hand had been found in a trash bin. They believed it belonged to Dun-mei because the hand had a ring she often wore. They then received news that Dun-mei's ex-wife suddenly returned to allow her husband to have eye surgery. Sion and her colleague went to meet her. She cried and lamented, accidentally mentioning that her husband would know what to do if he knew his daughter's right arm had been cut off. Sion immediately became suspicious because she hadn't mentioned whether the left or right arm had been cut off. Back at the office, everyone discussed information about the ex-wife and learned that she had a history of professional fraud. She had approached the father and daughter during a social welfare campaign. They also learned that the daughter had purchased life insurance with a death benefit of 600 million won. Everyone suspected the ex-wife, but Chae-sang stood up and argued that the three of them had conspired to create this case. After the meeting ended, they sent people to investigate further to see if they could find any more body parts, but they didn't find anything. Seokjin, the chairman of the financial company, invited a famous lawyer to help him with something, and the lawyer readily agreed.